welcome to this GINA program where we take a look at the performance of the Ministry of Housing and Water over the last 6 months. I'm sitting with the Minister with responsibility for that department, the Honorable Keith Scott. Minister, welcome to the program.
Thank you, sir.
Now, you are responsible for housing and water.
Correct.
For the entire country. Since taking office 6 months ago, what have been your achievements so far?
Well, the achievements, perhaps you should start with the aim of the ministry, because it's a new direction in which we have decided to go. At first, we just was concentrating on what we inherited. That was backlog of house lots and people to be served, and just a concentration was centered on just delivering house lots. What we have done is aimed at, and have been also pursuing, aimed at creating a new concept in housing, and by developing affordable houses at a much lower cost than that existed in the past. Yes. And also we are trying to develop a community concept where we have people now not seeing themselves as part of obtaining a house lot or a house, but being part of a cohesive community. So we are pushing the idea that we must now start to think, in order to become the Guyanese man or the Guyanese nation, that we can now have people seeing themselves as being part of a community. You know, like how you have like a self-contained type of town
in a holistic manner.
In a holistic way. Okay. So we are pursuing that goal, and I think we do well about it. Also, in terms of water, people have not been getting water for a very long time in many areas of this country, or as well as not having water that is above that qualify to the United Nations health standard for potable water. So we have been put a lot of money into the water sector, and we're also looking at ways and means of bringing down that cost, the final cost, to the consumer. Although we have invested millions of dollars in terms of the delivery as well as the construction of pipes and means and connections.
Now, I'm guessing the delivery of water would tie into one of the infrastructure goals that you mentioned previously, not on this program, but when you just took office, of having communities, persons not just getting a house lot, but they must have basic infrastructure in place when you get your house lot, so you can actually start to build faster and move into your property.
Well, in terms of building communities, the concept is that you can begin by putting roads and infrastructure down first, and roads. Some people in this part of the world put the roads and infrastructure, then you build houses, and then people follow. In other countries, they do the reverse. But we pursue that aspect of putting in the infrastructure. As a matter of fact, it is part of our mandate to develop infrastructure. And as I will expand a little bit more on that in a little while. But infrastructure is necessary, and we see it as very costly, but it is part of our mandate to ensure that people can move into an area with roads already in place, electricity already, at least on the streets, already in place, and water in place, right? When we do these things, and as we go into the community expansion process, we'll have, they won't only find infrastructure like water and roads, but they're going to find, in some cases, police outposts. You will find, in some cases, a fire station outpost, because we are moving again towards having people to see things holistically. We are going to find ways that we have to find not only houses, but people must be able to find employment in the very community in which they live. So we don't need to leave the area to go down or travel distances to go to work. If you can get that off the ground, and we're aiming at that, you'll have schools right there. Children won't have to walk far. They won't be tired when they get to school, and they'll be able to be much better students. So we are playing a major role in the entire concept of developing the new Guyana man.
So you're looking at transforming the entire sector?
We do the sector as well as the society, because we deliver, and our job is to make sure that the president's aims to have a new country that can think in terms of both the coast and the hinterland as thinking as one, can be delivered if we can be able to deliver across the board, throughout the country, affordable houses for all of the society.
All right. With specific regard to housing, what has been accomplished so far since you took office?
Well, since we have taken over, we have been able to do quite a few. And if we were to use a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest, in terms of specifically achievement of housing, we can comfortably say we will be at 8% or 8 out of a 10. And we are now studying how we can get people to show more confidence in us by not only rushing to us early in the morning when we meet community people or the community, but they must have the confidence to know that this ministry will be giving each and every Guyanese a house down the line. If they can get that confidence, then they won't have to have that sense of anxiety that they may not get a house. If they have that sense of anxiety, they can fall victims of fraud and crime. In fact,
right.
we have had to arrest and lock up 4 conmen recently, as much as a month ago, where they were going into the areas and selling houses at the less cost and conning people. But those people fell for it because they would have had that sense of anxiety more than anything. And desperation.
So the message is basically, if you need a house lot, come to the ministry.
If you need a house lot,
you don't have officers going out in the field
come to us,
doing this, selling house lots or so on.
No, we don't. We have you come to us and you bring your information, the relevant information, pay slips, ID card, and so on. And we will assess you, you have an interview immediately. There's no waiting time. You have an interview as soon as you come to us. You fill the form, you're interviewed, and then you go and file and we begin the processing. We then send you to the bank, and the bank will pre-qualify you. While we, on our part, will be going ahead and building houses. And as it's processed, each person will be called to come in to have a house.
Now, what is your preference? Is it just to provide house lots, or would you prefer to provide, even if it's low income, a turnkey home that people can build and expand on?
Now, when we came into office, the previous government's preference was to have house lots. House lots does not really serve the needs of the entire society. It serves the need of those persons who have the desire to always want to build their own house. There will always be people like that. And as such, we can never dispense with giving out house lots. But at the same time, there are many people who can't afford to build a house. There are many people who cannot make that commitment to want to engage in that. Those persons, we build houses at different costs, different prices, and they can access a house. In the meantime, while we're looking at that, our emphasis happens to be on affordable houses. To make it affordable, right now, a house lot or the house lot can cost about $4.9 million for a 2-bedroom, a little bit more for a 3-bedroom. Not everybody can afford that. And I personally, as a minister, do not really feel comfortable with having to give persons houses at that kind of price. Although I'm constrained by the fact that a house cost is tied intricately to the cost of infrastructure. That is one. They go hand in hand, and that is one of the main reasons why at the moment house lots are being sold, to my mind, a little bit too high. But what to that task, I bent my effort in that I'm trying to explore ways and means of how do we divide ways and means of bringing down the cost of infrastructure, the cost of the roads, the drains, the concrete costs, what are the best options of the type of bitumen we should be using and so on. If we can bring that down in as soon as possible, then we can, what we're selling for $4.9 million is also, you can probably very well bring down to maybe $3 million. And besides just giving people that option, there are people also who don't want to buy a house. We are also encouraging those persons to engage in some kind of self-help activity as happened in the past. Yeah. For that to work successfully, we will have to bring in or maybe bring back a mortgage finance bank, because the mortgage finance bank did play a fantastic role in helping poor people to be able to afford to own their own homes. A little piece, a little penny at a time did that. Now, as it is right now, the banks are fully cooperating, and I'm not going to name any bank, but they are giving house loans at at relatively low income. They have also established a partnership with us, and they are also assisting and will be assisting in the new year in further expansion of our program.
Now, with existing housing schemes, you cited the need for improvements in some of them. Have you been able to get in to perhaps maybe start a study to see what's going on in some of these communities?
Yes, we have been able to do that. Those very poor persons, last year, you remember we did some poor houses last year. This time around, this year, 2015, ending in December, we have been able to present, we give house lots and houses, 180 of them. So 180 persons were allocated houses. We give them titles also. We give out 2,950 titles to persons who now have title to the land, and that title can be used as a financial instrument if they need to go and get a mortgage or whatever way they want to use it. That can be done in that way. Even the squatters we have been thinking about, they have been very close to our heart in that we have a policy where we are not encouraging squatting. We don't intend to, at any point in our existence to give any encouragement to the act of squatting. But because of that policy, we have been doing regularization of squatting areas. We have so far we have given out, we have regularized 148 squatting areas, and we have brought them into things. We have given out titles. We've been able to give out 250 titles to squatters. So we're encouraging them to move more and more into the mainstream of the community. And in terms of the community, we have moved to a point where we have an active community development department. And they are also working in cooperation with another government-sponsored community development program where we intend to cover the entire country. Because using the community development program, we are able to enhance the concept of the cohesive approach. Now, they're the ones who are going to give us our leaders of tomorrow. We have already had 6 community meetings across the region, not across, but in region 3, 4, and 6, where our leaders have been going to these communities and have been holding discussions, and we have even been training. We have trained so far 22 community leaders in this country. So
building capacity.
In capacity. So we have them ready to help us implement projects. We have so far created 3 projects that we are building, and those leaders are standing ready. Even as far as our current scheme at Providence, as soon as we get a certain amount of people of occupancy, we are going to have some of those persons in the community get actively involved in developing their own community. So while we're having local government elections, while we're producing leaders from the ground up, we are also helping and assisting by means of community training to make sure that those persons are there to enhance not only the community, but to mentor the young persons that are coming up. That's a very sore area because that era of youth have been neglected for the longest while. But with our concept of training communities, will spring community centers. We'll have halls that young women can go and learn different type of skills. Young men will be able to develop their skills in terms of using tools effectively, and employment will be generated in that fashion.
Let's touch on water. What has been going on in that sector?
Well, water is a powerful instrument. No community can be established unless we have water. And as I said, water is life. So without that, there's nothing we can do. But to that end, we've spent over $600 million in just to invest in the basic infrastructure for potable water. We have so far been able to service communities that never had water. In this country, would you believe that you've had people living for 30 years, 15 years in the communities that were not able to access potable water. Now, because of the fresh efforts of the GWI, we have been able to give wells that we can we've just drilled one. We've been able to give potable water to communities that never had, for example, Barnwell North by Mocha. They have now got water for the first time in 50 years. We have been able to go to other communities in other parts of the society. For example, we went to Savannah Park in Borbista, as you would know. For the first time in 10 years, we have been able to give them water. We've even gone further than that. We've gone to, as you saw in the papers, where our CEO, Dr. Richard Van Les Charles, was able to go to Angers Avenue and in Borbista, New Amsterdam, Borbista, and give water. Budan scheme also on East Borbista in the quarantine, they have gotten water now for the first time in 10 years as well. We have even got two other places, Patterson, just at Sophia. They have now, for the first time in 30 years, been able to get water. But even if you were to go further back, you have free and easy over the river on the West Bank. West Bank. They have gotten water for the first time, probably forever, because that was a very far community,
remote area.
Right, very remote, and people were in tears when they got water through the pipe for the first time. So GW has spared no effort whatsoever, now no money, to be able to deliver water to the people. It's an ongoing process with water. What we've got, we have spent over $2.5 billion to establish water connection plants, water treatment plants. We've also been able to put down communities' pipes and connections that we're doing. So water on the whole is our primary concern, because water is the health of the nation. If you don't have potable water, you're talking about diseases, waterborne diseases. You're talking about people who doesn't understand that we've gone into the 21st century, and we have got to do that. We have plans for them as well. Now we are doing water treatment plants that in different areas. That is the aim of that is to purify the water, to remove the iron content, and to make sure that when the water leaves the shelter belt or leave the wells, they are 100% pure. When it gets, I admit that when it gets to the homes, in some cases they are contaminated.
That would have with the leakage.
But we are addressing that right now in the most aggressive fashion whatsoever. We are having machineries that will detect leaks along the line. And we're also engaging the community as part of our team.
So they can have to report.
So they can report and they
will
help us right. Once that happens, we will go to them and get ultimately that connection between them and us. We'll be able to get proper water.
In terms of cost for providing water, for example, how much is it to run, say, a treatment plant?
If you're talking about electricity alone costs a huge amount of money. It costs about $10 million just to pay the power alone in some areas. We have to add to that maintenance costs.
And wages for people working.
Wages, transportation to get to the areas and so. So that is the kind of thing. When we have to deliver water to a person, that person, it brought down just $112 per person per cubic, right? As such, so we carry a lot of costs in making sure that we can provide potable water to people, and we try our best to make sure that they don't feel that cost, but that they get the benefit to their health.
So I'm thinking it's actually better to take the service from Ghana Water Incorporated than buying water off your own.
Well,
cheaper in the long run.
It is much cheaper in the long run, and there's no guarantee that when you buy water from these water sources places,
right, that
it is really 100%. Right? That is EPA who they have to check the water at these outlets that they sell water. But we feel that if you can get connection throughout the country, which we intend to do, we will be able to deliver potable water at an affordable cost as well.
All right, going forward next year and beyond, what are some of the plans that you have?
Well, going forward, we intend to make sure that we can marry the town with the hinterland, because when we build houses, we build houses to all of Guyana. And the hinterland, we had a project that with IDB help and government of Guyana, which were able to deliver some houses to certain areas in the hinterland. That was on the year before. But we need to have, while we're building houses in the hinterland areas, we are making sure that the historical way of construction that they are accustomed to is not compromised. For example, we found that in some areas in the Rupununi, the zinc roof, which was designed to harvest water, is not necessarily in keeping with the culture of that they're accustomed to. Okay. So those challenges are there, but at the same time, they are confident that they are getting a better house. They're more, they feel more settled in staying in one spot, and they are now seeing themselves as having their house. Women are now being in a position to assert themselves in those areas that in the past they were nomadic. They're not nomadic anymore, but they've said that the pride is now being taken in the house, that this is their house. The children are saying this is their room, and they're decorating the room and so on. So the concept of that, we are seeing a oneness that is developing because of the expansion of the housing program. In terms of our development, we have, for example, our turnkey houses, which we inherited from the last government, which we talked about the 1,000 homes. We are moving ahead with that. We have so far constructed up to 180 houses before. We are now going to do another 100 houses in the new year. We also intend to give some lots, like 200 lots we have right here. We intend to also give out around the place, and we intend to open new housing schemes. We have already identified 10 new housing schemes that we intend to develop into regions 3, 4, 6, 7, and 10. And our biggest challenge right now is to do our infrastructure upgrading. And we have already also been discussing that with our technical team. Region 2, 5, and 7, not 7, 2, 5, 3, 4, and 10. We intend to build 25 areas to bring up the infrastructure upgrade. The communities development program will be working alongside with that. And we already plan to go to 19 communities to give leadership training so as to help us enhance the leadership capacity that exists.
So they'll be working along with you when you move into
exactly.
The communities, okay.
And even the squatters, again, we intend to go after at least 400 areas where we intend to regularize them. Right? We have, in terms of the community activities, 37 projects have been identified where we'll have people being able to participate actively in project development. And as such, we have all those kind of plans. In terms of the water, well, that's an ongoing process. We intend to make sure that every area is well serviced. We intend to make sure that we can have new treatment plants coming up that will help us to remove the iron content of the water. That is a bit of a problem. Yes. While I'm not certain that all the iron should come out, because that is also sort of source of benefit for the body. But we need to have that content reduced so that people can really be comfortable. As you do remember the days when you were going to school, when you're playing in the schoolyard, you can put your mouth under the pipe and get water and feel comfortable. We intend to get back to that space and time where people can know and have the confidence that they're getting pure water whenever they turn that tap on.
Well, I want to thank you for giving me this interview, the 6-month wrap-up, and looking forward to hearing more from you in the new year. I
intend to hopefully have a lovely partnership with Gina and the rest of the media community, and I wish them well for the rest of the year.
And same to you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. That was a 6-month wrap-up of the activities within the Ministry of Communities, Department of Housing and Water, given to us by the Minister, the Honorable Minister Keith Scott. Thank you for watching.